Good morning. This Gemara in Eruvin Daf Nun Ches. Today's shir is sponsored, of course, as Chos for Shlem of Shemar Yosef Chaim ben Pesha Miriam, as well as all our other Chayim Yidamir ben Kir Men ben Chaim Ram Chanid Chaim ben Sarah Shem Sivin Yizid Zar Bas Gendel Ita Basim as Chayim Yisrael Chaim Saras Yisrael ben Mendel as a president Shavlei Shem Bas Tambi B'Shem Vig B'Shem Chaner Valdov ben Triva Daniel ben Chanaritz Chaim Nachum ben Mendel Daniel John ben Fred Besoch Shar Choydei Yisrael. We pick it up on the bottom of the Zayin and Beis. We're up to the Mishnah over here. We're now going to get into the thick of things, exactly how to measure the tzchum. We discussed extensively how to square off the city, how do we measure outside and get to the number 2,000. That is not a straight line, that we make a square in each corner. It's 2,800, the extra 400 around, the extra 800 at the top. You gain 1,200. But now we have to know practically how do you do the practical measurements. So it says the Mishnah on the bottom of the Zayin Beis, Ein moidin elo bechavel shel nun amo. When you measure, you take a rope of 50 amos. Not less than 50, not more than 50. That is how you measure. It's going to be 50, 50, 50, 50, 50 in order to get to your prescribed number of 2,000 amos. When you measure, you hold the rope opposite your heart. We had to come up with a standardized, somewhat of a standardized measurement, as Rashi here says. You don't want to hold it too high, you don't want to hold it too low. So, because if you hold it at different places, the rope could start sagging, you could pull the rope too taut. Therefore, you hold it nice and naturally against your heart. If you're measuring and you reach a valley or to a wall, you're going to swallow it up. And we'll show what that means. And then you're going to go back to measuring. If you reach a mountain, you're going to swallow that up. So first of all, what's this mavliyah that you're swallowing things up that when you're measuring? So the basic understanding is, and first we'll pull up the picture, which of course will help, is you see over here that when you're reaching either the valley, as you see in the first little picture over here, or a little wall, as you see in the middle picture, basically there's two ways you can measure now. Either you could take your rope and you can go all the way down or all the way back up. We go over the fence and down the fence. Or you could just go directly over it. Which is, if you go directly over it, obviously that's in some level swallowing up. You're not measuring the area, the length of the actual wall, of the mountain, of the valley, etc. So that is how you're going to measure mountains and valleys, etc. So it says the Mishnah, and then the Mishnah said, you're going to go back to your measurement, and the Gemara is going to discuss exactly what that means, so it's probably best off, let's just wait to the Gemara. Says the Mishnah, moving along to Nun Ches, Amid Aleph, Ubilvad, Sheitzeh Chotzatzcham. So you're chayzer l'midasa, you're doing some sort of, it sounds like you're moving away, then you're going to be coming back. Ubilvad, Sheitzeh Chotzatzcham, but be careful, do not leave the tchum. If you're not able to swallow it up, that you're going to pierce straight through the mountains. So, let's, maybe we'll just explain with a picture, and then we'll begin in the Gemara. Over here is that we said, basically, as you see in this picture, what's going to happen is, what happens if you have a part of your valley, as you see in the first part of the picture, which is longer than 50 amos. So we want to swallow up the valley. But if it's longer than 50 amos, how do you swallow it up? So basically what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to move over to the side, where it's a smaller area, which is less than 50, measure there, and then go back to where you were measuring before. That is what the unspoken words of the Mishnah that the Gemara are going to explain. Again, if the valley, the mountain, the wall is too long, like you see in these pictures, then you can't do 50 amos directly over it, directly underneath it, and therefore you're going to have to move to an area which is narrower. And then basically what it said was, with Bilvad, you have to be careful. You can't leave the tchum when you're doing it. As you see over here, if you're at the very end, that the 2,000 amos are ending, so now what are you going to do? You can't leave the tchum in order to make this measurement, even though you're stuck then. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you can't go measure there because it's more than 50 amos. And as well, you can't leave the tchum, so we're going to have to see that you're going to have an issue. Machlek is exactly how to learn what is the case of this more than 2,000 amos, that you're leaving the tchum. This one is a little bit easier. This is the second Mishnah Rashi, as you see over here in the picture, that basically the tchum ends. And therefore, when you want to go to the valley when it's more narrow, you're going to have to leave the tchum to do that, and that you're not allowed to do. and we'll see in the Gemara exactly why all these cases are true. That is the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Minan, immediately from where do you know this halacha? Amar Rav Yudah, Rav Amar Kra. The length of the chatzir was 100 amos v'roichav, and the width was chamishim b'chamishim, and the width was 50 by 50. So Amra Teira, says the Teira, b'chevel shal chamishim hamra. We learn from the fact that it says chamishim b'chamishim. The Teira is teaching us that you should measure with a rope of 50 amos. Madai, that is how you should measure it. So we learn now from a pasuk. Says the Gemara, which many people, whoever remembers the Gemara from 2030 Blad, goes, bother, we use this pasuk, teaches a different measurement to teach us how to measure our karfe for 70 2/3 by 70 2/3. That's what we learned out of this pasuk. We use this for something else. That you take 50 and you take another 50 and you take the additional 50 and you surround that 50, and that's how you get 70 2/3. So how can you use this pasuk to teach me it's a 50 amma rope if it's already being used for something else? Says the Gemara, chamishim. My chamishim b'chamishim shmas mina tarti. That extra base teaches us this additional din that when you measure, you use a 50 amma rope. Says the Gemara, it can't be less than 50 ammas, it can be more than 50 ammas. Says the Gemara, Tana, we learned in the Mishnah, why can't it be less than 50 ammas? Shemarbek. You know what's going to happen? If it is less than 50 ammas, it's going to increase the measurement. Why? Because a smaller rope you're able to pull taller, and therefore it's going to stretch out the tchum. It can be more than 50 ammas. Why? If it's a very, very long rope, then it's going to start sagging in the middle, and then you're going to lose parts of your tchum, and that's why it has to be a 50 amma rope. Amar Rav Asi, ein moedim. Now Rav says, what type of rope? Elo bechevel shel afsekima. Has to be a chevel made of afsekima. My afsekima. Amar Rav Ava, of course, nargila. Says the Gemara, my nargila. What's nargila? Amar Rav Yaakov, dikla decha nivra. It's a type of a date tree. A palm tree, with a single vine, a certain type of tree, and that is the type of tree that you use the rope in order to measure. Different people saying different things. Tanya, we learned in a Bryce. You know what the greatest thing for measuring is an iron chain, which obviously poses a bit of an issue because we just said you're using some sort of rope chain. But what should I do? That when you're going to measure, you have to use a rope. Yada in your hand is a chevel, it's a rope of midah measurement. That's how, even though the best thing is going to be an iron chain, you got to use a rope chain. Concise, says the Gemara, it sounds like you should use a kana, a stick. Why are you telling me they're using a rope? Answers the Gemara, that's when you're measuring very short distances, you're measuring the gates. That's when you're going to be using the stick, but in the general sense, you're going to use the rope. There's three types of rope. What are these three types of rope? Shel magog, shel neitzer, shel pishtan. Three materials, reeds and willow branches, and of linen. What are these three types of ropes used for? Shel magog, of this reed, is lepara, is to measure the para aduma. The Tanakh learned to the Mishnah, kaftua bechevel. You're going to tie up the para aduma bechevel amagog with a reed rope. And then you're going to put it on top of the fire, in order to burn when you're doing the avodah of the paraduma. Shel nitzarim l'saita. The next type of rope is the willow branches. Is when they're taking the saita out. They tie a rope around her. They tie the rope above her waist, above her breast actually, and that is where they're tying you with what type of rope? The magog, the chavel hamagog. I'm sorry, one more time. They're taking the nitzarim, they're taking the willow branch rope. That's for the saita. And the last type of rope is shel pishtan, which is of the linen, lemedida, which is the rope that we're talking about, which is for measuring. Which again, it comes up to something different. We just said a rope of afsakima. Now the Gemara is saying of pishtan. Says the Gemara, so now the next part of the Mishnah said, okay, now you know what type of rope, you know how long the rope is, not too long, not too short, 50 amais, either of pishtan or of sakima. Now says the Mishnah, how do you do the measuring? Says the Gemara, so we spoke in the words into the Mishnah that we're missing. Now the Gemara is going to teach us that. For the fact that it says you go back to your measuring. So what do we learn from there? If you're not able to swallow it up again, you reach that valley. The valley is longer, wider than 50 amos. You can't swallow it up. So what do? Go to a place you could swallow up mavli and you swallow it up. V'seifa keneged midasai, and then you look back and you go back to where you're supposed to be. And again, that was this picture over here. That when you reach the area which is more than 50 amos, what are you going to do? What you're going to do is you're going to move over to the part which is less than 50 amos. You're going to measure, and then you're going to go back to where you were up to. Says the Gemara, Tanila Tana Rabbanon, we have a brisa that concurs with what we just said. You reach this valley. If you could swallow it up, you swallow it up. What do? You go over to an area which is narrower that you could swallow it up, and you swallow it up, and you look out, and you go back to where you were measuring. If it's a curvy type of valley, makdir va'oila makdir v'yoyri, then you're not going to be able to do what we just said. But rather, what are you going to do? You're going to have to pierce it, literally makdir. You're going to have to go through it, go down, and then come back up. We're going to explain what this means. You reach a wall. We don't say that you make a hole through the wall. Rather, you're just going to guesstimate. You're going to make an estimation, and then you're going to keep on going. So that's right. So the Gemara asked the obvious question. We learned that when you get to a wall, what do? You're mavliya. You swallow it up. How are you going to swallow it up? You're going to hold up the rope high up in the air, above the wall, measure over it, and then go back to where you were holding. So why are you telling me over here that you're that you guesstimate, you make an estimation about how wide it is? Says the Gemara, Hasam nichatash mishtei, it's a different type of wall. The Mishnah is talking about where snichatash mishtei people, it's more of like a collapsed fence, and people walk over it. And that's the reason why we got to figure out a way to walk over it, and therefore either we're going to do makdir or we're going to walk over it. But in our case, it's a regular wall. People don't walk on it. Since people don't walk on it, that is the reason why. I'm sorry, the opposite. When people don't walk on it, that's when we're going to have to go with the estimation. That was the second brisa. When our Mishnah said that you're going to mavliyai, that is when somewhat of a wall that you walk over, more of like, we'll just go back into the picture. The picture was precise over here. Was, as you see over here, actually you can't see so well, but you see over here, it's not like this tall type wall. It's more of a rubble type of wall that you could walk over. That's when you're going to be mavliyai. Says the Gemara, 2 lines from the bottom, Amar of Yudam Shmuel. When do we say that your mavaliyah, that you swallow up when you hit a valley, is only when the chutam mishkala, the string with a weight, literally, or a plumb line in proper English, yoyrid kenegda, is only when it doesn't go straight down. We'll show a picture of what this means in a moment, moving on to the Nuchesim base. Avol, but however, in a case that the chutam mishkala is yoyrid kenegda, if the plumb line falls straight down, moididai medida yafeh, then you can just do a regular measurement, meaning you can just go straight down into the valley and then you can walk across a regular measurement. What exactly is this plumb line for those who do not know what a plumb line is? No, that is not the plumb line. Here's the plumb line. It's basically you hold a string with a weight at the end of the string that falls straight down. So in a case where it goes straight down, then you could just go, you jump into the valley, and then you're not going to be mavliya this valley. And then you're going to go in, basically, because it's a very straight wall, you're just going to go into the valley and you're going to measure straight, a normal measurement, and you're not going to be mavliyah. Says the Gemara, how deep is this valley when we're talking about that you're going to swallow it up, that you're going to take the 50 amma rope and put it on top of it? Amar Rav Yosef al Payim, it has to be up to 2,000 amos deep. Sounds like it's only when it's 100 deep, not 2,000. Says the Gemara, he'll take the Achirim. The Tanya, like we learned in the Brayz Achirim, Up to 2,000, that's when you do havla. That's what our Mishnah is holding like Amri, Rav Yosef, afilu yeser me'al payim, even when it's more than 2,000. Come on, to loik Tanakama. Now, according to this answer, it fits with neither opinion, neither the Tanakama nor the Acherim who said up to 2,000. Says the Gemara, awesome. You know what the reason is? The reason is she'ein chotam mishkalos yored kenegdai. That is the reason. However, in our case, it's chotam mishkalos yored kenegdai. And that is the reason what Rav Yosef was talking about, and that is the reason why, regardless how deep it is, you're going to be able to be mavliyai this type of valley because it goes straight down. Only 4 amos. It's only if it goes up until 4 amos. Okay, so that is the first type of measuring for this valley. So the Mishnah continued, and the Mishnah said, you reach a mountain, what do? You're mavliya the mountain. What does that mean? Again, that means you're going to hold up this 50 amma string over the mountain. You're going to, and then be mavliya, swallow it up, and then you're going to be chayzil midasai. You're going to go back to your measurement. Something we've seen many times. If only if the mountain is a reshus b'fnei atzmai, if it goes up 10 tfachim within 4 amos. Avol b'hara mislaket yud mitoich hey. If it's a more gradual incline, if it only reaches the 10 tfachim within 5 amos, then moida medida yafa. Meaning, if it's not such a spiky mountain, it's a more flatter mountain. Then you do regular medida. You don't do the havla again. So basically, this is the second time that we've seen this concept. That over here, when it's going to be more of a flat mountain, what are you going to do? You can do a regular measuring. Rav Huna Breder Rav Nasan Masal Lekula, he learned the exact opposite. When it's flatter, that's when you do a havla. And this is similar, like we said in Amud Aleph, that we're only talking about a wall that you can walk on top of. When it's more of a steep incline, then you cannot do havla, and rather that is when you're just going to estimate the height of the mountain. That is how you're going to get to your measurement. And then, but the Mishnah almost concluded, the Mishnah said, but you can't leave the tzchom, that when you're looking for an area which is less than 50 amos, be careful, don't walk outside the tzchom to do that measurement. So my taima, what's the reason? Which if we think about it for a moment, why you can't walk out of the tzchom to measure? Again, we're not talking about it's on Shabbos right now and you're actually leaving the tzchom. We're just trying to figure out where the tzchom goes until. And now you're stuck with an issue because you reach a valley, you reach a mountain that's too wide. So you just have to find a narrow place to do the measurements. So why are you not allowed to even walk outside the tzchum to make the measurements? My time, Rav Kahana. You know why? It's a gezeira. People might think that what? People might think that the tzchum went all the way to there for the fact that you went there to measure it. So we don't even allow you to go all the way out there to measure it. So the Mishnah concluded, and now we're going to have to show a few pictures for this one, that when you're not able to swallow it up, what do? You do makdir. You pierce through the mountain. How do you do this process of piercing through the mountain? That the bottom guy holds it by his feet, and the top guy holds it by his feet, the bottom guy holds it by his head. That's how you're going to measure. And now you no longer use a very long rope, very short rope, well not that short, about 6 to 7 feet, 4 amma rope. The concept we've seen, those have dinei de'araisa. Here is a picture of someone doing mekadrin. As you see in this picture, well, the guy in the bottom holds it at his head, the other guy holds it at his feet, and you take these little ropes. And basically, when you're going to have this taller mountain, or this wider mountain, I should say also, so more than 50 amos, you can't hold the rope above it. Then you have to basically break it into these little pieces and go up, 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 down, 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 down. And that is how you're going to get to figure out the width of that mountain in order to continue. Here you see the same thing happening when it is a deep valley. The same thing, you hold one by the feet to the head, feet to the head, feet to the head, all the way down, and then all the way back up. And that is how you're going to measure. Now the Gemara is just concluding that we don't do this din of mekhandrin, this piercing din. Now we have more of a grasp of what exactly it means, not by Egla Rufa, when you're measuring Egla Rufa, nor by the Ari Mikla. Why? They change Al Teira. They are dine derais. So we'll conclude with one last Rashi. Rashi here says, We don't do any estimations. We view it as if it's flat land. Meaning you're not going to even take this 4 arm rope and go all the way up and down because you can lose a little bit. It's a din d'oraisa. You're going to have to hold the rope all the way down up and get the whole incline. Why? Because it's din d'oraisa or din d'chum, which is din d'rabanan. Then we're going to allow you to take this small 4 arm rope from head to feet, feet to head, go all the way down or all the way up. We'll pick it up from the Mishnah tomorrow.